Freezing conditions heading our way overnight, plus a major impact storm later this week. We're tracking both of these weather impact alerts. I'm ABC 10 Chief Meteorologist Monica Woods. Taking a look at the timeline here, all the way through the end of our work and school week. Tuesday, we hit a weather impact alert for the dangerously cold conditions. Below freezing temperatures for an extended period of time. That's going to put us in the danger zone there. Wednesday, we quickly turn our attention and pivot to our next weather system on the move. This is going to bring increasing rain chances for the San Joaquin Valley. More widespread rain and snow developing by the evening. That takes us right through our next weather impact alert date on Thursday with valley rain and thunderstorms, heavy Sierra snow and gusty winds. Friday, we start to see those impacts kind of wind down for the valley, but the scattered snow showers will continue for the Sierra with more travel impacts to wrap us up for the work and school week. The weather system brewing just off the coast here. That's what's going to take us right through the middle and end of our work week before we get a break. So, of course, we're going to keep these extended forecasts going. You can catch those on ABC 10 Plus, as well as Weather Explainers and our weather and climate specials. That's all on ABC 10 Plus. Download it wherever you watch your streaming programming. All right, let's get to it. First, we track our freeze warning in effect. That's going to be Tuesday morning throughout much of the valley, parts of the Delta, and even for the East Bay communities, we'll still find those sub-freezing conditions. And so protecting people, pets, and plants, even pipes for some locations, outdoor pipes could be vulnerable to some damage. Here's a look at the extent of that freeze warning. It starts up at 10 o'clock Monday night, lasts all the way until 7 a.m. on Tuesday. Sunrise is right about 7 a.m. At that point, we'll see ample sunshine and some warming conditions. But before we get to that, those sub-freezing temperatures could kill crops as well as precious vegetation, sensitive vegetation. This is a big agricultural area that will be impacted by that. This extends all the way into the Delta. By the time we get to the East Bay community, it's going to be a frost advisory, again, starting up overnight, lasting through Tuesday at 9 a.m., with the impacts being temperatures below freezing and hazardous to sensitive populations, especially for people that don't have adequate access to heating. Look at those forecast lows, and you can see why we've got these warnings and advisories in place. Temperatures dropping into the upper 20s to right around the lower 30s through the lower elevations. Teens for the Sierra for our Tuesday morning. Only near 40 for San Francisco with limited cloud cover for tonight. Typically, the clouds or even a little bit of wind would keep that warmer air closer to the surface, but we just have maximum radiational cooling expected for tonight, especially given that we have that colder air mass over us right now. Temperatures cooling quickly. Once we get past sunset, we drop those readings into the upper 20s, low 30s. That's how we'll see our mornings start off with that freeze warning in effect. After that, by 11 a.m., we're starting to approach 50 degrees, but we're keeping temperatures below average, at least for afternoon highs through the middle of the work week. We see a dramatic shift, though, by the time we get to next week with well above average temperatures. We'll focus on this week, though. Impacts that we're going to be tracking for our Tuesday. Cold morning temperatures with those sub-freezing lows, dangerous to people, pets, plants, and as I mentioned, some outdoor pipes, especially those that don't have adequate insulation, could be vulnerable to some damage there. As we head into our Thursday and Friday, we'll be right back at it. Now, Thursday's the main weather impact alert day. Friday, we're just going to have those lingering impacts in the Sierra. But get this, our snow levels will actually start at about 3,500 feet and then rise to 6,000 feet. We start to get into some warmer air mass by the time we get to the end of the work week with windy conditions and thunderstorms that we're going to be tracking as well. The weather system right now brewing just off the coast here. So we got kind of a break here from the wet weather. Last week was terribly active, brought us a lot of rain, and unfortunately it led to some widespread flooding. As far as the lingering impacts from the runoff, we're still looking at flood warnings in effect for parts of the Sacramento River, especially where those weirs are flowing into the Yolo and Sutter bypasses. So use caution around the river. And as far as officials, they're just continuing to advise anybody if there's barricades up, they're up for a reason. don't pass them because those roads are still dealing with some minor flooding. As you can see, some orange spots here along the Sacramento River. That's where we have some of those free-flowing weirs. So it's basically once the river gets to a certain level, those gates will just be free-flowing, allowing that water to flow into the Sutter and Yolo bypasses. If you're traveling along I-80, along the Yolo Causeway, you're going to see some water there in the Yolo bypass. So a pretty sight for sure, but definitely want to make sure to stay aware of all those road closures that are happening. Our reservoir supply, by the way, looking really good right now. They increased the outflow from Shasta. It was getting really full. It's still at 83% capacity, 88, or I should say 88 for Shasta, 83 for Trinity. Oroville filling up nicely as well. We're over half full for Folsom. Everything above average. And we still have the snow melt season to go. We haven't even gotten to that yet. New Melones and Don Pedro, about 70 to 80% full. San Luis, which is going to be that off-stream pumped water that is right now receiving water from the Delta pumps, which are at full capacity, or at least were last week. That's going to be bypassed into the San Luis Reservoir, which of course connects to the California aqueduct, so it can save water and then send it south to where people need it during the dry season. Millerton, a little bit on the lower side, only about 50% capacity, but this next cycle of storms is actually going to benefit more of the central and southern Sierra than, say, the early season storms, which definitely favored a northern trajectory. In sheer precipitation numbers since the beginning of the water year, which started last October 1st, it will run all the way through this year, September 30th, numbers look good. Now, you can see most of these storms definitely favoring the northern part of the state, with the southern part of the state, which have been so terribly hard hit with dryness and wildfire danger that lingers because we just haven't seen those big storms to tamp down the wildfire. Unfortunately, the wildfire risk really just hasn't been favoring everything from about the central coast all the way through San Diego. But that is about to change. We're going to see those numbers shift by the end of the week because of the position of this next storm coming in. The water year so far, not bad. We just had that terribly dry January, which put us in deficits throughout much of the central and southern part of the state. Now, the southern part of the state was just kind of dealing with that ongoing dryness, but the northern part of the state actually started off really good November, December, and then we hit that dry January. We started to pick back up in February, and we get another storm coming in, so we're going to bump that number up once again. This also impacted our Sierra snow water equivalent. We're at 115% of average for the northern Sierra. Central and southern Sierra still below average, but again, there's still time to catch up. February and March can be big months for us for precipitation. Statewide average sits at 81% of average to date. For that April 1st average, 56% of average. And if you haven't joined us before for these extended weather coverage explainers, that April 1st date is a very important date because that's right about the line of demarcation where we stop seeing so much in the way of snowfall and more in the way of snow melt. So what happens by that April 1st date is very important. We get actually about 30% of our water from Sierra snowpack in the state of California. A look at the timeline, and this is what I'm talking about. We have more rain and snow on the way. Tuesday, it's all about the dangerously cold temperatures with our weather impact alert in place. Freeze warning in effect. Wednesday, a bit of a break from some of those weather impact alerts, but we get right back at it. We'll see some showers actually picking up in the San Joaquin Valley, but the more widespread rain and snow develops by the evening, the overnight hours into our Thursday. That's going to put us with some pretty good impacts with valley rain and thunderstorms, heavy Sierra snow and gusty winds. Friday, some scattered showers. Sierra snow will continue, and those will be the lingering impacts with this storm brewing in the Pacific right now. Currently, we're kind of in this cold air mass that blankets much of California. Initially, our snow levels start off at about 3,500 to 4,500 feet. But as the warmer part of the storm arrives, that's going to move that snow line up to about 6,000 feet. That'll still put plenty of snow on the passes. We're still going to be dealing with the hazardous mountain conditions with the gusty winds, near zero visibility from time to time. Very likely we're going to have chain controls and road closures. Our winter storm watch goes into effect late Wednesday. That takes us through Friday evening at 10 p.m. with our winter storm severity index really favoring that central Sierra, southern Sierra with extreme impacts potentially through the end of the week. So our storm highlights just kind of do an overview of what we're expecting because we're still several days off from this. We'll get finer details as we move along through the week. And you'll want to make sure to stay tuned to these extended weather forecasts because we'll get more and more of those details as we move along through the week. So valley rain about 1 to 3 inches by the end of the week. Sierra snow 2 to 4 feet with, again, severe weather potential will be thunderstorms. That'll be on Thursday with wind gusts about 35 to 50 miles per hour in some places. Our snow level, as I mentioned, starting off around 3,500 to 4,500 feet, rising to about 6,000 feet by the time we get into our late Thursday, Friday forecast. All right, let's talk about those winds. When are we going to expect the worst of it? Looks like on Thursday. Wind gusts upwards of 40 to 45 miles per hour right through the valley, parts of the foothills. As we move along through the day, that'll move its way into the foothills and eventually into the Sierra, still dealing with the gusty winds during the midday hours on Thursday, at least the way that things are playing out right now. Again, we'll continue to get finer details and better timing as we move along through the week. Here's the reason why I'm talking about those morning showers for the San Joaquin Valley on Wednesday. It's because of where this line of rain is initially starting off, and that will be through the central and southern part of the coast, and then just kind of favor that line until we get into our overnight hours Wednesday into early Thursday. Then we'll see a good bulk of the rain coming through along with those winds for the morning commute on Thursday through the capital region and through the San Joaquin Valley, parts of the Delta and the Bay Area. Snow will continue to pile up. This is not going to be a high snow event for us. Even when we see that higher snow line, it'll still be at the passes, meaning all travel along 80, 50, 88, 89, even into Yosemite. All of those major roads going into the mountains are going to be impacted for us. Even some snow along the coastal range. We'll see that turn over to rain, though, during the day on Thursday. And then the lingering showers are with us through Friday, but the big bulk of the impact will be confined to the Sierra during Friday before everything winds down Friday night. As far as what's ahead after that, well, the first line comes in, and you can see it's kind of poised right through the central coast there, and then just kind of slides its way southward. We get another little pulse coming in on Sunday for renewed chances for showers by the end of the weekend. A bit of a break. It looks like we could see another storm system come in during the week next week, but the weather models are kind of iffy on that one. If nothing else, it is looking likely warmer. You'll see it in our 10-day forecast. I mean, I'm talking temperatures near 70 for parts of the valley by the middle and end of February, and also likely drier. So again, a lot of uncertainty with how that storm track is going to be moving its way potentially northward, allowing for some of that warmer and drier air to kind of penetrate much of California. As far as the short-term forecast, it's all about the cold temperatures for tonight. Teens to near 20 for the Tahoe Basin, highs in the 30s. Once we move down the hill, it's still going to be frosty for morning lows. Highs in the 40s and low 50s. A cold start to the Bay Area. Temperatures in the 30s to near 40, highs in the 50s. And as we move our way through the Central Valley, morning lows in the 20s and low 30s with highs only warming into the mid 50s to near 60s. Still below average here for our temperatures. We're going to keep that cold air intact until we get to the end of our weekend. And then we start to see a little bit of a shift in our overall weather pattern. It's going to be a rain mixed with snow event early on for the foothills, and then it's all about the rain coming our way Thursday and Friday. Same for the coast. We got rain Thursday and Friday, so kind of a messy situation there on Friday for Valentine's Day. I know, not the best news if you're planning to dine outdoors. Frosty conditions with a weather impact alert on Tuesday. Wednesday, we start to see the presence of some of those showers moving through, resulting in the chance of rain and thunderstorms on Thursday, along with the gusty winds. Now, showers start to wind down a little bit on Friday. We'll continue to get better timing on the end of that event for the valley later on this week. Another chance for rain on Sunday, but right now it looks like it's more about the warming and drying weather pattern in through the following week.